So let's be frank, social media can be incredibly addictive. You're disappointed with the performance of your posts, and you compare yourself to other creators on whichever platform you're using. I know this firsthand. As I ride the roller coaster of social media, aside from unmet expectations and insecurity from comparing myself all the time to others, what I don't hear is that often there's another problem. A problem I usually deal with, and I have no doubt other artists deal with as well, and that is shiny object syndrome. Shiny object syndrome is where you drop whatever project you were doing once a new idea comes along, and then you jump on that endeavor, repeating the cycle over and over again. In the past, I would scroll down the feed or look at other artists' posts. I would always want to do what they were doing and drop the project I was doing at the time and load it onto my current workload. I would get headaches from the constant dopamine hits from the newsfeed. It was then a constant cycle of, ooh, a shiny new project. I had to do what they're doing. With this mindset in the past, however, I didn't make any substantial progress towards my goals. I felt like my efforts were wasted, no body of work to show for it, and with piles of unfinished projects. I want you to avoid the same fate I went through. Let me explain why. 1. You're going to be stressed or burned out. 2. Again, you're less likely to finish projects. Number 3. Not effective or productive over time. These are kind of simple reasons, but shiny object syndrome is that feeling that nags you when you see other creators or people make what you feel like is amazing and what you're doing isn't a good use of time. Okay, you say, oh yeah, let me get ready for this monthly art challenge that's happening every month, or challenge in general. And I have to make all these pieces for my portfolio. Comic, illustration series, song, album, whatever. But no matter what you do, you always have this vague feeling of being left behind. Shiny object syndrome and indecisiveness are some of the artist's worst nightmares. To mention the previous traps of expectation and comparison, your experience on these platforms aren't really beneficial to you in your craft, whatever that may be. On social media, where you're bombarded with amazing art, advice, tricks, drama, politics, with that endless stimuli zapping your brain each time you open up that screen. And I don't have to keep going on and on about how social media can be negative for you. I'm sure you know that by now. Of course, there's a disclaimer. There are many great uses for social media. You're probably a well-established creator already, a digital marketer, or your business relies on social media. Great. Also, it might be different if you're a multitasker, depending on your life situation. But if you're the average Joe, then chances are not likely. And yes, it's great for the discoverability of creators. But what I'm arguing is that when you're not careful, these platforms will disrupt your ability to focus. I've learned, and what I think you should learn, are the tools and insights from these 3 books. Deep Work by Cal Newport, The One Thing by Jay Papasan and Gary Keller, and Essentialism by Greg McKeown, that taught me how to separate signal from noise, choosing what's the singular most important thing to focus on, and put your time and attention on, or at least up to 2 things at a time. The fewer points of focus, the better. The content of these books laid out a guide for me to become more focused in today's world filled with distractions. When reading these books, I had a difficult time practicing this. It wasn't fun at first. As a matter of fact, it was uncomfortable saying no to all these things I've wanted to do, and staying with one thing for a couple weeks to months at a time. I'm still not perfect at this. During this process, I would get antsy just cutting out all the many projects I've already committed to. So alright, listen, maybe quitting social media altogether isn't in your foreseeable future. I get it. I strongly urge you, however, to at least take a break from it and see how you feel. As for me, what I do is that I didn't really quit social media cold turkey. Instead, I use these platforms in seasons. For a couple months, I post and I re-emerge from a hiatus and I start posting regularly. On other months, I don't post anything or do my best not to look at my Instagram at all. This keeps a balance that works for me rather than carving out 30 minutes per day to use it. Doesn't work for me. I always go down rabbit holes. But in the future, if my career progresses and I could get work with just my website, email, and these YouTube videos, that'd be ideal. I hope you learned something today. Again, this has been a topic that I think about here and there, and maybe this might be a simplified explanation of how I feel about the whole thing. But let me be clear that social media isn't the prime evil of today's time. But we can't ignore or overlook of how addictive and how much it impacts our psyche. I just believe if we'd all benefit if we're less distracted and more focused on the things we truly care about. So, if you'd like to support the channel, consider getting those awesome books. I get a small commission whenever someone purchases through the links in the description. So, till next time, have a magical day.